I appreciate the time that you guys are allowing today and have interest in our program. And I really, I respect the job that y'all do. It's hard. I understand, especially now in these times, it's hard to continue to create and write stories. And, a lot of times you guys are the voice of having an opportunity to sell the story of our program and of our student athletes, which are so important. And a number of times you bridge the gap between the passionate fan base that the Razorbacks have and our student athletes. And there's so many great stories on this team and this organization to tell. I'm honored to be a part of it and so happy to be able to spend some time with you guys today.
Thanks, sir. Trey, why don't you lead us off? Trey Biddy.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, Coach.
Hey, Trey. What's up, man?
Doing good. Hope you're doing well through all this. I know you guys are going to be very multiple on defense, just kind of based on what you've done in the past. But we just kind of had some confusion back and forth on like what the base structure of this defense, basically like how to prepare a depth chart, how that would look. Is it going to be a 4-man front, a 3-man front? Grant Morgan said the other day he thinks it's going to be a 3-2-6. So what kind of base structure can we expect when you guys, I guess, face the 21 personnel?
Yeah, we're going to be really multiple, and I think there's my history is more of a 4-down front. There's times that we've got to find the right personnel and what that's going to look like schematically. It will take some time through getting on the field. We're installing a lot of different stuff right now, and I think creatively, you got to be a great teacher, and you got to put your kids in position to go play fast and play with confidence, and the overall structure on what that's going to look like will be multiple. Like I said, I grew up in a 4-down defense, so to speak, but also have done the last few years, especially the time at Memphis, we were an odd stack team a number of times throughout the course of the season. So, the things that we've got to do continually, no matter what the depth chart looks like, is putting the best 11 on the field to try to put us in position to allow them to play fast, understand the scheme and schematically what we're trying to get done, but also gives us the best chance about what we're facing offensively to try to defend the number of things that you see on a given Saturday from week to week on the number of things that you see and prepare for. So we've got a lot of things in. We'll continue to base out. I don't know if we sit here and if I had to produce a depth chart today, I'd probably give you 2 or 3 depending on what we're going to be running.
Okay, so if we were just putting together a depth chart, like a 4-2-5 type of look, would that be probably what you would roll out?
Well, I mean, I don't, Trey, I don't mean to be difficult, but I don't, we haven't practiced yet, so it would, we'd have, right now, and I just got off with a staff meeting, defensively with our guys, and we talked about, really 4 different fronts, and so we're, multiple would be, if we're lining out, I could give you a 4-2-5 depth chart. If you give you a 4-3, and the one I give it to you, if we don't run out there and play that the first snap, then it looks like I wasn't telling the truth. So we're going to be really multiple, and I got to do a great job on finding the best way to get the best 11 on the field.
How has things been going with these meetings, and how have you guys broken it up? I know the first week it was just 2 hours, and you were doing 30 minutes a day. Is it over 4 days? Are you doing an hour a day over 4 days?
It's been extended now. The NCAA allowed us to increase our time, which has been awesome. Our Coach Pittman's done such an amazing job on. Really, they didn't give him a handbook on how to handle this, but I mean, he has provided structure, organization, and the things that he's put in play for us to be able to do. But we've gotten a lot better as an organization in the last month, and it's because of his leadership and the things that he's put in place for us to carry out and do. And then our kids, I can't give them enough credit for the way that they've responded and the attentiveness and they're hungry to learn. They've got both feet in what we're doing program-wise, and it's, we've adjusted and handled things. I don't know that it could have, and, who knows how much longer this we've got, but they've done such a tremendous job, and it starts with the leadership of Sam, but then also goes down with the people that we have at Arkansas, the people in the Academic Resource Center, on down the line that have just, in sports medicine and all the different folks that have a hand in helping our student athletes out, providing them a platform to be successful. Everybody has brought their A game, and it's been awesome. And I think we've been able to teach, we've been able to be slow and intent with the content that we're giving them in our position meetings. And then also, those guys, you can tell, they've been spending time on their own in the playbook, so to speak. So I'm proud of them, but we got a long ways to go to get in position of where we need to be on, whenever this ends, back to quote unquote normal. The things that we do between now and then, we've just got to make sure that we're ready when that time comes, and that whenever we can hit the field, that we're ready to go with the install and how we're going to go practice and the habits and all the things that our kids have stayed up on. They've done a tremendous job.
And last question, I'll let somebody else have it. And this may be hard also because you don't have spring ball to do some evaluations, but at this point in the class of 2021, what are some areas that you guys have kind of identified that you really need to shore up in this class on the defensive side of the ball?
Well, look, we're really young on defense. I mean, if you look at just the guys returning in every spot. So I think, as Coach has said, kind of what we're looking at, numbers going into next year, we'll sign a full class. And, we're recruiting heavy every position on the defensive side. And I really like our returning roster at every spot. I like the ability that those guys have. I'm anxious to get out and continue to develop what they do. But, right now we're full steam ahead on really recruiting every spot defensively.
Appreciate you, Coach.
Thanks.
We've got Coach Briles, too, now.
Okay, thank you. Hey, Barry, I do really appreciate the words you delivered right at the very start of your comments.
Yes.
I'm sure you guys would much rather be out on the field right now, but the NCAA has even doubled. I think it goes to 8 hours starting next week. So I'm interested, how have you allotted your time specifically? Do you go from just stuff with the secondary guys that you teach them, and now maybe do some full defensive team, or did you even do some of that this week?
Is that for me or for Kendall? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
That's for you, Barry, and then Kendall, if you could address that as well, how you spent the time.
The thing is, coaches, like I said early on, I can't give Coach Pittman, enough praise on how he's handled this, because there's a lot of things that come your way as a head coach that they didn't give you a handbook on how to do it. So he's been awesome, and he's provided leadership in every turn of what has gone on, and he's really provided a calmness around our organization and a direct plan on, this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it, and now let's go to work. And so going into this week, we've spent time really a little bit every day with our team over the meetings, and that sounds like it's increasing for next week. So we have gone back, and at least defensively, and we've got enough in from an installation standpoint that we're able to reteach it and back it up with some video of clips of how the structure looks and how, and it's a different teams that we're watching as we compile these things. But, being a coach is really, there's so many different layers, but at the end of the day, man, you're a teacher, and you've got to be able to provide the content, and everybody learns differently. Some guys learn by drawing the plays or the blitzes. Some guys, they've got to see it visually. Some guys have to walk through it. Everybody's a different learner. So I think over this time, I've become a better teacher because, we've got time to be able to do that, and you go back to square one, and you teach, and don't assume that they know anything, and just take it day by day on continuing to push them, motivate them, but also provide them the opportunity to learn at the pace that they need to. And so it's been really good, and our kids have done a heck of a job on retaining information, but also making sure that they're hungry. They're a hungry group to want to succeed, and they understand that this is part of how they're going to be successful, is understanding what we're trying to get implemented with our offense defensive schemes.
Okay, and Kendal, for you, how do you split your time between just with the quarterback and then the whole team? And how do you project that for next week when you have even more time?
Yeah, we spoke about that this morning, and I'm traveling right now, so I apologize if I do lose you. I'll call right back in. But we're going to talk about that. We talked about this morning as a staff how we want to handle the new rule with gaining 4 more hours a week, and just trying to make sure that we're not. What we don't want to do is hold these kids to the fire when there's not stuff that we can be teaching at that point. There's if you get 4 hours a week, as coaches we've gone through it, and Odom said he's reteaching, and we're doing the same thing offensively. We want to make sure that if we are using all that 8 hours, that we're not just holding the kids' feet to the fire. We're actually being able to teach and use that, and when it's done, it's done. So there's so many different ways to skin a cat at this point. Obviously, like Coach said, there's no handbook to how you handle certain times like this. Once again, I'm going to say the same thing as Barry said, but Coach Pittman has been unbelievable as a leader, providing us with the details on a day-to-day basis of what we want to get done and have a plan to go out and execute it. And it's been good. Everybody is on the same page. This is a new job and a new journey for all of us, and we feel very blessed to be able to represent the Hogs. And nobody loves this program more than Coach Pittman, and he's got a staff that respects him. So we're doing everything we can to help him be successful, help Arkansas be successful, so the people in this state can be very proud of this football program. And our kids are doing the same. They're working out. We're not able to get video footage of what they're actually physically doing, but they're working out. They're talking to our strength staff, and what we're doing offensively is we're also having quizzes. So we meet with those guys all week. Then there's quizzes that open up that they can go into an app. They take those. We get that information, and then we go back over that information with the players the next day. So it's kind of like Barry said, we're teaching, and then we give assignments, and we grade it.
Okay. Well, Kendal, how comfortable do you feel with how you feel the players are picking up the playbook?
I feel good at where we're at. It's kind of a loaded question because everything is really calm when you're sitting down looking at a computer and, you don't have somebody on the other side of the ball that's trying to knock your head off. So it's you can be calm in these environments and be able to retain information. That's one thing. But to go on a field and execute seeing signals and your alignments and physically putting your body through that and doing it, that's another. But what we can do right now, I feel really good about where we're at. We had an offensive staff meeting this morning. Feel really good about where we are at, especially from a skill standpoint, which we're a little further along than the offense with with the O-line with Coach Brad Davis. He has used this, which I think is excellent. He's used this as really a slower period to be able to really teach the fine details of O-line play. And they're going a little bit slower, but I think it's warranted. I think that what he's doing is perfect for what we need, going through all the details of offensive line play and teaching fronts, teaching defenses, teaching the things, that it's allowed us to slow down and teach more defense as well. So I feel good about where we're at.
Thanks, Kendal. And my last question for now, for Coach Odom, a couple of early enrollees, if you could comment, please. Miles Slusher and Keelan Burrow, if you could comment what you've seen out of those two.
Yeah, both of those guys have, the time that we had them and went into our off-season workouts. I'll start with Miles. He developed his skill set. He also is mature and he's got a great competitive spirit. His football IQ is really, I'm impressed with that. He's had great coaching there at Broken Arrow High School. You can tell that he's very, advanced in his thoughts and understanding of coverage. He's done a tremendous job in the classroom academically, and that's hard to do. Mid-year guys, a lot of times, their buddies are talking about going to the prom, and they're in the middle of a biology exam and morning conditioning, and both of those guys have done a really good job. But I've been more direct with Miles just because he plays a position I coach. He's worked extremely hard in the weight room. He's added weight, really good weight, and it's been so excited about having him in the program. And Keelan is continuing to develop, and a number of the things, the adjustment phase of getting from, going in the high school to a mid-year grad to living on your own in the dorm, some of those things, it's an adjustment phase for everybody. But I'm so happy that we got both of them, and they're going to be a step ahead when we start back in whenever they give us the word. They're going to be a step ahead. And, I've challenged Miles that you're not, I'm not going to look at you like a freshman, and it doesn't matter. Because once they're ours, then we coach them and teach them, and it's our job to get them in position, no matter what their age is, get them in position to understand what we're trying to get done with the play calls, and they're responsible and accountable to our football team to play in their best.
Thanks, man. Passing the mic.
Appreciate it.
Yep. Matt Jones. Matt, you there?
Yeah, hey Kyle, I'm just doing a leave moment today.
Okay. Let's go to Nate.
Yeah, Kendall, I'd like to whatever your evaluation that you've seen on film of Rakeem Boyd and just your dealings with him personally and what you've seen of him so far.
Yeah, you're cutting out just a little bit. You're talking about my evaluation of Rakeem Boyd on tape and just my feelings of him as a person being around him. Is that correct?
Yeah, and just what your dealings with him so far. Correct.
Okay. I've known Rakeem for quite a while. I recruited Houston. I was at another institution, and I remember Rakeem from high school. A very talented back. The thing about him is he's a really powerful runner, but he's got good elusiveness as well. And then he's got good ball skills. He's got the drive. He's got the 1-2. He's a big kid. He's 205 pounds. He's broad shoulders, and he's got long speed. He can run. I think he's an all around every down back. Really excited to get on the field with him. As a person, I've been so pleased with his leadership. He's been successful, and there's not probably only a handful of guys on the roster right now that have come back that have had a lot of production and a lot of success, and he's one of those guys. And those guys can do two things: they can kind of pull down your team, or they can really uplift your team. And Rakeem's been one of those guys that has led by example on a daily basis by being on time to workouts, by busting his butt in all the workouts and what we were doing, and then being very engaged once we did get a little bit of football stuff going. So Coach Smith, our running back coach, is a tremendous coach, and he's great with, just being a people person, and Rakeem and him have a great relationship, as do I, and I'm excited for the future for Rakeem.
Since he could have gone to the NFL draft this year, do you handle him differently once you're all get a preseason practice in as far as scrimmaging and that kind of thing at the contact?
Yeah, I think you cross that bridge when you get there. I know going into spring ball, we had talked about he's definitely not one of those guys that we need to beat up. We know that he can play. But he also, this offense is different. The terminology is different. The signals are different. The tempo is different. And Rakeem, he's going to be one of those guys that we're going to have to hold him back if we do get to the point where we feel really comfortable about him and his knowledge and his awareness of what's going on with what we're trying to get done offensively. So he's definitely going to be a guy that he's going to want to be full speed ahead.
And Barry, I was going to ask, this is really with all the multiple offenses and spread offenses, is there even anything such a thing as a base defense anymore?
Well, I think there's always, your base core philosophies, beliefs, and foundations on how you want to play defense. And more than anything, that overrides the initial structure on what schematically you're going to look like exactly. So those are more things that we're building on every day. It's the ability to influence them and the spirit and competitiveness that it takes to play good, solid defensive football. And it takes the 11 guys on the field understanding, their job, where they have help around them, what we're trying to do within the play call. And then you want to take away what that offense does and what they do really well. You want to try to eliminate some of those things. We're teaching elementary football 101 and starting from the ground, trying to build the foundation in such a way that it's going to carry us when we need it in the times of whether it's situational football, third downs, or the 2-minute drill, last play of the game. All the different things that go into teaching football, we've been able to spend time on all those things. And again, I said it before, but I'm excited about what this team has retained, the information that they're seeking. They've got some competitiveness about them on wanting to learn. They're hungry to be in a position to be coached, and I'm so thankful and honored to be a part of this staff and building this program of where we all want it to be.
Thanks. Now somebody else can take a shot at it.
All right, Bob?
Hey, Barry, how you doing? Hey, Kendall. Barry, first of all, I guess Julius Coates, I guess he's one of the early guys. What did you see from him in the workouts and whatever you guys were able to do, and kind of what do you think of him?
Hey, Bob. Good to hear from you, man. Hope you're well. The things with Julius, we initially, and I had known about him before I got to Arkansas, but, he's a big, tall, long, explosive athlete that, the work that Jamil Walker and Ed Ellis and their staffs have done in our strength and conditioning area has been unmatched. I mean, those guys that transformed, Julius for one, he gained, I don't know how many pounds from when we started in January to when we were, had to change and things, but he had transformed his body. He had become bigger, stronger, leaner, faster, quicker, all those things. And Jamil has put together such a great plan on the mental side of coaching our team, but also, advancing them physically. And I would say we had a before and after picture of what Julius looked like from the day he walked in to where he was, when we cut loose here, maybe transformed as much as anybody. And then, our defensive line coach, Derek LeBlanc, is one of such a great teacher and one of the best in the business. Was at Kentucky for a couple of years, and you got a lot of respect for the things that he did there, the way that they played. And looking at Derek having a chance to influence those guys on the defensive line, and Julius specifically, since you asked about him, just continuing to teach them and bring them along. Derek's done a great job with the group, and again, like Kendall said, and I think we said a number of times, just anxious to get them back and kind of see once we get out on the field where guys stack up, and we're going to count on Julius being a major factor for us, and the reason we recruited him, and he's done a terrific job on developing his skill set since he's been on campus.
With his physical transformation, what do you like about his skill set that he could bring for you guys?
Well, I think he provides, an opportunity to be an every down guy at the defensive end position. I think, the things you saw him movement-wise, he's going to be able to provide a presence of having an opportunity to pressure the quarterback. He's long. He's got good speed, good initial quickness. He plays with good pad level. As far as just seeing him move in the drills, they can kind of tell some physical attributes that he has, and I think all those came to my mind on watching him going through some of our morning conditioning. Change the direction, the way that he was able to put his foot in the ground and change and bend directions. Really excited about what he can do for us.
And then, Kendall, I wanted to ask you about Blaine Toll moving over to tight end. I guess, did you have to wrestle Barry for him? What led to that decision? And based on what you can see from him, how do you feel about him at tight end and what he can bring you guys?
I'm sorry. Was that for me?
Yeah, Kendall.
Yeah, could you repeat it? I'm sorry. You cut out on me.
That's okay. I apologize. You just wondered about Blaine Toll's move from DN to tight end. What do you like about his skill set there? What do you think he can bring to you guys as a tight end?
Blaine is an extremely gifted athlete. He's a big, strong, fast twitch player who loves playing football. And when we first kind of threw that around during February when we were getting ready for spring ball, there was more of a need for our football team at him at the tight end position, and obviously it involved the entire staff. And we asked Blaine and left it up to him, and he said he's more than willing to do anything football team, which I can't tell you how much we appreciate his coaches and his family being involved as well with that. So Coach Cooper started coaching him and getting him going, and feel really good about Blaine and what his role is going to be this year as a freshman. I don't think there's any doubt that he'll play somewhere for our football team, and he'll help our football team because of his work ethic and the way that he trains. And you put that together with talent, and you got somebody that can really play well for you on Saturdays.
And then this is for Kendall as well. But Darren Turner, what have you seen from him, and how big was it? I guess because he committed, then he was waiting to see what happened with the coaching change, and then he signed with you guys again. How big was that to retain Darren on your commitment list, and what do you think of him as a player and his skill set?
Yeah, Darren's a big skilled guy. Coach Stepp did a tremendous job with him. I was not really involved with that recruiting process. Coach Stepp had that pretty much licked by the time I got here, and Darren and his family are great people. Got a chance to be around them. Darren's worked hard. He's one of those kids that I think this is the first time that he's ever worked in a strength and conditioning environment like the one that we have, which I think is second to none. And you could ask him, it got after him a little bit early, but I think he was really starting to change his body. You could tell that he was losing a little bit of that baby fat. He was starting to look like a man, and I think he's got a tremendous future. He's got a lot of bounce in his legs, and he was really pleased with the way he's been working hard. And just talking with Coach Stepp, he's done a really nice job with all these meetings and retaining information as well.
Okay, I have a few more questions, but I'll turn it back over to Kyle for the rotation or whatever.
Thanks, Bob. Kelly Stacy.
I have kind of an off-the-wall question for Coach Odom. I spoke with Sam last week, and he mentioned that the two of you go on daily walks, and you've kind of become his trainer. How did that come about, and what are some of those conversations like whenever you two go on your walks?
Tell the truth, Barry.
Yeah, you know what? I try to be a really good listener, and you know, there's times I know when it's time for me to talk, and then other times, you know what, he's not real interested in what I think. It's just, I think it's important, and everybody in a leadership opportunity, you know, it's good to have maybe somebody to trust and bounce some things off of. And, you know, there's also times that it's dead silent, and he doesn't want to talk, and I don't think he wants to listen. So I'm good at playing off of that, and you know, I don't know, more than anything, maybe it's just a small mental break on above everything else. But you know, I mean, check this out. I'm not going to speak for Coach. I like to eat, and so I better do something, some sort of physical activity. And you know, right now it's been an opportunity. It's always, you know, you get a chance to be around different people and a different staff, and you know, it's one of the greatest. Arkansas has got so many tremendous things at the university and Northwest Arkansas, the entire state. But man, the people that Coach was able to put together on the staff, it's just such a great group of guys and teachers and leaders. And you know, it starts with the direction of Hunter and then Sam, you know, putting together a staff in this organization of the football program. I'm honored to be a part of it.
He says that he really likes to come to you for advice, especially during that time that you each carve out every day to kind of hang out with each other. What's it like just knowing that he puts that much trust and faith in your opinion, that he wants, you know, your input on things?
Well, I think, you know, that he is in our staff meetings. I mean, he asks questions. It's not ever just a one-sided conversation. I mean, he opens it up for the floor. He takes all the information that he can from all of us. And I think that's what, you know, good leaders do. You make sure that you surround yourself with really good people and you trust them. And then there's times that you want their opinion and influence. But then there's also times in that chair that, you know, you don't got to, it comes down to sometimes you and only you are the only one that can make that decision. And he's got a great feel for it, man. He's a heck of a person and a tremendous leader. And that has really filtered throughout our entire organization just on the way that he handles business. And he's done such a great job in this short time on providing leadership, on giving us structure on what it's going to look like, the plan of how we're going to go get it done, and then having confidence and showing us the reasons why it's going to take place. Also look at, you know, we all learn from our experiences, you know, whether they're tremendous experiences or they're setbacks. You always learn from that, and I'm vulnerable enough and have been vulnerable enough to open up. And you know, I did a lot of really, really good things in my staff at my previous job. And there's also things that when I get the next opportunity that I'm going to change a little bit. And that's life, right? That's every day you continue to make the best decision, provide yourself with, you know, the opportunity to move that organization forward. And again, we got a heck of a staff, and I know that he spends time with Kendall, and I know he spends time with, you know, guys on the offensive side of the ball. I do the same thing defensively. I mean, Sam Carter is coaching our corners. Derek, I talked about earlier, our defensive line coach, LeBron, and then Ryan Rose, our linebackers coach. You know, there's really good coaches on that side of the ball. I'm fortunate to work with, and believe me, I don't got all the answers. I'm asking. We're trying to collectively put together the best we can, ultimately, to give our kids a chance to be successful as student athletes.
I have one more question for you, which is, he said that you started coming up with kind of a list of times and personal bests on these walks, and that he would much prefer to just, you know, take his time, but you've decided you guys are going to kind of set some goals. Was that just to encourage you both to keep at it?
Well, I think he was the one that started that. He's the one that holds the stopwatch, and every day when we finish it, he looks at it And, we either made the medal stand or we didn't. We were up in the stands already eating nachos, watching those that get the award. So both got a little competitiveness to us, and you got to find ways to challenge in every area, and that's one of them.
All right, thanks, Coach.
You bet.
Mike Irwin.
For both coaches, I know this has been really hard on the players, being scattered and not really knowing what's ahead down the road. And Coach Pittman said on the SEC Network on Wednesday that he'd gotten some good news that the dorms would open on June the 29th, and he immediately passed that on to the players because he wanted to give them hope. Have you had a chance to kind of just react, just to back how the players received that news, and did it help? You feel like it was good news and it helped them and it felt great?
Barry, you mean
Go ahead.
take this?
Go ahead, Kendall. Go ahead.
Yeah, from what I've heard from the other assistant coaches with that news coming out is, the guys are chomping at the bit to get back. I think the first week or two, it might have had a little bit of newness to it, a little bit of excitement, like, hey, we're getting to go home. And then they realized after about 7 days not being structured and having the environment that we've created here, Coach Pittman's created here, that they want to be back. And so to have that news, being able to shoot it to them, I think did give them some hope. But still, with that being said, the highest concern for everybody right now is being safe and being healthy. And we're definitely going through, we're going to adhere to every policy that is out there right now. And Coach Pittman, we talk about it on a daily basis. We want to be able to get back in here and be able to work, but we're going to make sure that we're doing everything the right way and keeping everybody safe and healthy. And then once we do get back, we'll figure a schedule out. We'll put it together collectively with support staff, strength staff, football operations, and everybody to try to kind of work backwards from that first game and see how we're going to be able to implement everything to get ready to play.
Okay, for Coach Odom, I guess one of the most concerning things to fans over the last couple of years has been these gouge plays on defense. Not so much all teams get beat through the air, but there were all these long runs on the ground. Kentucky game, mid-major teams, running backs from mid-majors going 50, 60, 70 yards. In your kind of planning for the kind of defense that you want to put on the field, have you been influenced by that? Try to figure out a way to stop that?
I think there's a number of things, and I'm not speaking about anything that has happened before I got there at Arkansas defensively. I'm just looking at how structurally you want to, the standards of playing good defense. There's a couple of elements that go into that. And one is the ability to contain and stop the run. Another would be not giving up explosive plays. You can play really good defense. Say you play 75 snaps of defense, you can play really good defense for, 68 of those 75 plays, but then on those 7 remaining plays, if you give up, chunk yardage or explosive plays, then it's not a very good day. So, you've got, and it's not just on the defensive line or it's not just on the secondary, it's all collectively together. And, it's going to be an effort-based defense that plays with tremendous speed. And those things, if you get and train and have the habits of playing collectively together, but also you're playing hard and you're understanding your assignments. The other side's got scholarships too. I mean, we're facing some pretty good players. So there's going to be times that they make some plays. Okay, that's going to happen. But also, let's eliminate big plays. Structurally, let's make sure that we're sound and we understand, our responsibility, doing our job every snap. But you look at, bottom line, our best way that we can play good defense is making sure that we don't give up explosive plays. We find ways to create turnovers and give the ball back to our offense, give them another possession, and continue to find ways effectively to get off the field on third down. Because if you can do those and those elements, then your numbers start to decrease defensively. You know, you got to be a really good tackling team, and all of those components go into playing good defense. And you know, ultimately, that's not giving up big plays like you're speaking about.
Coach Briles, Coach Pittman said the other day that he's still in a position of trying to recruit the players that he has, because this is a new staff. And one of the ways, obviously, you do that is you got to have leaders. You got to have guys that kind of buy in, and then they're passing along to the other guys. I want to ask you about Felipe Franks, because you're new, he's new, but some of the guys have already talked on these teleconferences about what a good leader he's been and how he's influenced them. Could you address it a little bit?
Yeah, I think Felipe, you know, he's when you go after guys that are graduate transfers, you know, obviously it's you have to have people that are going to come in and change your hopefully help change your program for the good. And Felipe, we feel like was one of those kids because he's done it at a really high level. He's been successful, and you know, going through all of our research on him, talking to different coaches and players that have known him, he's a great kid, great locker room guy, and extremely hard worker. So he checked all the boxes for us, and he's been great. We've been very pleased with Felipe, and you know, his ability to go through workouts and in the weight room and doing everything that those guys ask. We just want to see him throw a football. That's the craziest thing that, you know, I've been around him since January, and I haven't seen him throw a football because we haven't had the opportunity to be able to do that. And it's kind of important playing that position. So we'd like to be able to see that. And that's all the QBs. You know, those guys are, you know, they're all in the same boat, and they've had their team-led workouts. Well, they'll get together with receivers and they'll throw around and do that stuff. But you know, we're excited to have him. We're excited what he can bring to this football team and add to it. We feel really strong about the quarterback room that we have with all of those guys collectively. So excited for him and what he would like to be able to get done with his last stretch here, senior year.
Dudley. Dudley, do you have any questions?
Unmuted.
About how recruiting
Muted.
different during this time. Obviously, you can't go out and watch the spring guys, but how have y'all tried to be creative in that regard?
You know, really, this is Coach Odom. I'll go ahead and take it, and I know Kendall will follow it up, I'm sure. But, you know, I really, the ability to continue to work, other than not being able to leave campus, it hasn't changed. I mean, you know, every day we've got certain number of guys we're getting through from an evaluation standpoint. I mean, you sure wish you could see them in person, but you're getting all the information that you can. But you also understand that, you know, the high school coaches, you know, they're kind of going through the same things we are. So the access to be able to get a hold of them has been, you know, we've talked to and connected with more guys in that regard than maybe we would if we were out on the road, just because the ability to connect with them over the phone. Now, I wouldn't trade that for having the chance to go see it with your own eyes. But at the end of the day, you've got to really, recruiting is developing relationships, and that takes time. And then over time of developing that relationship, the word trust comes about. And guys understand once that we get their kid in our program, in our organization, they're going to be their best, they're going to graduate from college, and they're going to have great success at the University of Arkansas. So those things that we're talking about, you know, we'll be anxious to get another group of guys when we get the chance when things open back up, to get them back on campus, to be able to see the facilities, to be able to, you show those things virtually, but there's not much quite like being there in person. And, so we've adjusted like you would expect us to do, and I think our staff's done a heck of a job. And again, it's led by Sam and the job and the emphasis that he's put on recruiting, just on the evaluation of prospects, the communication with high school coaches, the communication with prospective student athletes and their families. I mean, we've done a really good job as a staff. We got to keep pushing, because that's before we know it, the things will be open back up, I hope, and we'll have a chance to get these kids back on campus.
Yeah, just to add to what Barry's already stated, I mean, it hasn't changed a ton. I will add two things. I think, obviously, Coach Pittman, it's been his leadership, but I think our recruiting department has really stepped up, and those people, for them, they're working harder now than they ever have, because recruiting it's not about all you can do. You still have meetings and there's things that you can get done, but recruiting has been ramped up, and I think our recruiting department has done a tremendous job of getting guys in front of coaches to be evaluated. High school coaches sending out numbers to talk to different guys that they may have. So those guys have done a tremendous job. I think one of the things that has kind of changed for this spring, I don't want to say that it's unfortunate for some, but it does change the game for some of the kids that are on the bubble, as far as you really like their tape. You think that they got a great chance to play in the SEC West, and you want to evaluate them, and just not being able to go evaluate them in the spring to see, is that kid 6'2"? Does he have broad shoulders? And to see all those things and talk to various people within the high school who touch him on a daily basis, those are the things that it makes it a little bit more difficult for coaches across America that are trying to evaluate kids. And it's a little tough on some kids that are the bubble kids that need to go to camp, that need to have that spring ball, that to be able to show themselves in front of different coaches on all levels. And so, it's going to push, I think, recruiting back a little bit for some. And I think at the end of the day, it's all going to work out, because tape doesn't lie. And if you're a good player, you're going to be found, because there's just no way to hide anymore. But it does slow it down a little bit, I think, for this spring for some kids.
Thanks very much.
Unmuted.
Hutch.
Yeah, this is for both coaches, maybe with Coach Briles first. But, when things do get ramped up, and this is y'all being a first-year staff, do you anticipate with needing to have a condensed playbook, or do you feel confident that you're able to get everything in with these meetings that y'all are able to do?
It's something that we've talked about as a staff, offensively and defensively. Without being on the grass with our kids, we can install the whole playbook. We got enough time. We can get that done. But can we execute it? You really don't know exactly what you're good at, what maybe you're not so good at. So I think there's an evaluation period. Yeah, we're going to teach a lot, and our guys are going to know a lot of what we're going to be doing this year. And you're always changing. You're going to take off. You're going to add. But our guys will have a lot of knowledge when we come back together and we get going. And then it's when you get on the grass, what are you good at, and what do you have time to rep? Because you can stay out there. One thing I do know about Coach Pittman is he's going to take care of our football players, which I am fully on board with. I agree with him 100% on his philosophy with not staying out there on the field forever and wearing them out. But, you're going to be out there for 2 hours. What all can you get repped and get good at against a bunch of different looks that you could see? So you got to be mindful of the players and what they can execute, and not try to put too much on them. And you got to be good at some things. So I think that's a balance that once you get into it, then you trust your instinct and you trust your coaches, because we got such a tremendous coaching staff, not just the full-time guys, but our support staff as well. And you try to make the best decisions to give you a chance to be successful.
And then Coach Odom, do you maybe have a thought on that as well?
Yeah, I think, defensively we've got more in right now than probably we would if we were finishing up spring practice. And, we've been heavy on the install, and like I said earlier, we'll go back and start reteaching that. But also, as Kendall said, you want to find out really what you can do. We've got an idea on a number of things that we can do. But, the more and more that we can continue to teach, we'll continue to push. And you can tell, through the install, are they really grasping it? Are they understanding and retaining the information? Have you taught it well enough? So we're pushing them, and, they're anxious to continue to learn. And, the thing that we want to do when we hit the ground running again is to make sure that we can go execute the things that we put in. And we'll have plenty in, when we get back at it, that we'll have opportunities now to go get it on video and whenever that time comes and really teach it the details of every single call on what that looks like. And, the kids have, as I mentioned a number of times, they've picked the stuff up. And now let's go do it in a stressful situation with, the way that defend, out in space and maybe you give up a big play mentally. How do you snap back and get back and play the next snap? Those are some of the things I'll be anxious to see and teach when we get out on the field.
Appreciate it.
All right, we're going to start trying to wrap this up. Trey, I know you had a few questions for Coach Briles.
Yeah. Hey, Coach.
Hey, Trey.
I was curious. This is just kind of a terminology thing, but, we hear about offenses called power spread, air raid, West Coast, basketball, pace and space, dribble drive, all these different things. And I've heard yours referred to by others as veer and shoot, spread ISO, but I haven't ever heard if you have a specific term that you refer to your offense as.
Hopefully it's productive. I really don't care what you call the offense. I've been called probably a lot worse, but I want it to be productive. Hopefully we're multiple, we're tempo, we're spread, and we want to run the football. And at the end of the day, it's our job to not coin an offense and say this is what we're going to do. I think our job as coaches and any coach is to take your best people and find what they do best and put them in high percentage situations so they can be successful and not ask guys who maybe can't do something as well to do that. So that's once you get down to you have your core things, what you're going to be doing. Once you get down to being able to practice and being on the field and see how guys learn, how maybe there's a kid that's great in 7-on-7, but when you put on pads, maybe he's not so great. There's a lot of variables involved, and it's on us as an entire coaching staff to figure out what we do best. And whatever the amount of time is, we'll be ready to go whenever we tee it up.
Coach, what you did at FAU, when you look at the offense before, while you were there, and then after you left, same thing at Houston. It's just undeniable how much of an uptick that you guys had in major categories, whether it's points or yards or whatever. And I'm just curious, at FSU, was that just a situation where it was going to take some more time, or what do you think are the reasons behind why things were a little slower going there?
We've had good players at all places. I don't want to speak specifically, at Florida State about, maybe what wasn't well. Obviously, I should have done a better job, and our coaching staff should have done a better job. And it starts with me. So that's probably the main reason is, why we weren't as successful is I just didn't do a good enough job getting us prepared to play. We had some good players, and sometimes the ball bounces the right way, and sometimes it doesn't. And that's Coach Odom talked about it earlier. You learn from all situations that you're in, whether it's highly successful or whether it is something that does make you think about, did I do that the right way? And what it does, it makes you a better coach, makes you a better person, and it really helps you mature and grow wiser in this profession. So I'm better now than I was then.
And, Coach, I know you can't comment specifically on quarterbacks, but I'm just interested in what goes into evaluating quarterbacks. I mean, obviously there's size, arm strength, accuracy, numbers, but there's all these intangibles with quarterbacks that are just so hard to measure. It seems like it's such a tough evaluation. Is there something that you do, a way you go about to maybe help you better identify what quarterbacks are going to be successful in college?
Yeah, there's, like you said, there's an incredible amount of variables and things that come into play whenever you're talking about taking a quarterback or evaluating a quarterback. The main thing you want is a winner. You know, I don't care how ugly it looks, if their form is, you know, Joe Montana. That doesn't matter to me. Is production. Does the guy produce? Does he manage the game? Does he protect the football? Is he knowledgeable? Does he have answers for why he did what he did? You know, all those things. And then obviously you got to have some talent. You want a guy that, for us and what we like to do, we like to have a guy that's mobile. That, you know, Barry will tell you all day long. I'm sure that he hates it when he's got every person covered on the field, and the guy takes off for 12 and gets the first down. I mean, that's the type of playmaker that can win you football games. And if you have a guy that can make plays with his feet, usually you have an opportunity to be in every game. And we always like to have a guy that can make plays with his feet, just because he makes me look smart, makes us look smart offensively. You know, God bless those kids with being able to get out of bad situations, and they can do that. So we always like to have a guy that can make plays with his feet. And then leadership is a huge deal in competitiveness. You got to have a quarterback that is a good leader on and off the field that guys are going to respect, not just for what they say, but what they do, because that your actions speak a lot louder than your words. And being consistent with that, and then a competitor. If you're not a gritty, determined competitor playing any position, you will not survive, especially the quarterback position, because as we know, there's going to be good days and there's going to be bad days, and that's talking practice, that's games, that's everything. So you got to be tough.
Really appreciate it, Kendall. Thanks. I have one more for Barry, if that's okay. Hey, Barry, this is just another terminology type of question, but yes, in this day and age with all the hybrid positions and edge guys and stuff, I was just wondering, is there a specific term that you use, whether it's, you know, a jack, bandit, rover, nickel, or whatever, some specific terms that you use to describe different positions?
Yeah, and some of our times over the last couple of years, you know, we've adjusted with that spot, and you know, right now, this terminology-wise, one of our ends, you know, that we could use, it would be a jack position. Yeah, this terminology.
Is that your speed rusher?
You sure hope that he develops into that. Yeah, you bet. Yeah,
gotcha. Appreciate it, Coach.
Thanks, man.
I'm good. Gotti, you got one? Kendall?
Yeah, Kendall, I'm curious how the teaching virtually has gone for you personally. Like, what do you like about it, and what's the prep been like, you know, before hopping on there with guys?
I didn't catch the back half of that question. What's been like?
Yeah, what's the prep been like before hopping on with the guys? Are you doing more prep beforehand, or how's that going?
Yeah, we've actually, the meetings have been great. The guys have been on time, responsive. The technology that we're using has been really good. Our video guys have done a great job setting us all up and making this a really streamlined way to do it. So that part of it's been really easy. I think our guys are enjoying it. We try to change it up and, you know, throw on a YouTube video of Drew Brees one day and try not to be so monotonous with it. But at the end of the day, it is a meeting, and we are teaching football and learning football. So the meetings have been very productive. Our prep has been a little bit more than normally it would be because we're not able to be in person with them and being able to show them things and me signal in front of them and all of those things that come about with it. So the prep has been a little bit more just because of the time. I mean, an hour meeting every day there's a lot of things that you can cover in an hour, and our support staff and GAs have done a tremendous job of getting all of that ready for everybody offensively. So it's been real easy. Our guys have done a great job with it.
Yeah, I'm curious about your impressions of the receivers group. How have they kind of taken to it?
Taken to the meetings?
Yeah, sorry.
It's been great. Coach Stepp, he's running the receiver meeting. You know, we have our installs that we've gone over as coaches and make sure that we all feel good about what we're putting in front of the players, what we're teaching the players, and we let our coaches coach. I mean, Coach Pittman has hired a tremendous staff, and, you know, I'm having meetings with the quarterback. Coach Stepp is coaching the receivers. And so he does a tremendous job, and we'll get back together afterwards and see, do we need to add more, how the guys handling it. And from everything that he said is that the guys are learning and they're retaining, and that's what you want to hear. And it's still been fun, and they're asking questions. You know, when they stop asking questions, then that's usually when they're getting a little bored because, you know, when they go silent on you, then you know that, hey, it's time to take a break and let's get back together. But when the kids are involved, they're asking questions, and you have dialogue throughout your meetings, and you got a good thing going, and that's the way it's been.
Appreciate the time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, Tom, why don't you wrap us up here with a couple?
Yeah, just real quick, Kendal. Knowing why you guys muted Felipe Franks, do you zero in a little bit more on stuff that he's really comfortable with within your scheme, or is that something that comes later?
Well, you don't know if we're talking in the now because you haven't been able to be on the field with him. You know, you've seen him play on tape. You know that he's athletic. You know he's got a big arm. You do know those things, but you haven't lived it with him. So you don't really get to see how fast, you know, the process is and how fast he gets the ball out. There's so many different variables if you're trying to play a game and not play a game. So, you know, once we have time and we're on the field, not just Felipe, but with all those quarterbacks, then we're going to tailor to what they do best. Absolutely.
All right, and for both guys, adding the extra 2 hours or 4 hours this coming week, can you do more complete offense or complete defense stuff, or is that just too bulky to try to get the whole side of the team on?
I think you're always looking for ways to be creative in your teaching, whether it's with the segmented groups or the entire unit. And like Kendal said, you know, you incorporate different videos to be able to show what you're teaching, to change the pace a little bit. So when you add that time, you know, it's time for us to be, you know, as interactive as we can be on, you know, slowing the pace down, but also pressing enough that with the entire group. And then, you know, structurally, for me, I can spend time with the entire defense on talking situational football and talking some of the things that we've briefly touched on, but can go a little more in detail with that for the entire group.
Yeah, kind of the same offensively. What Barry is saying. One of the things that we're planning on doing with that extra time is being able to meet as a unit, and it gives you more time than you would normally have, but really talk about not just us offensively and what we're doing, but really talk about defenses and show different defenses and why they're doing what they're doing, and show those pictures and those alignments, and showing where we're calling certain blitzes. So whenever we're on the sideline and we're in game adjustments, we're talking about what happened, that we know what nickel field stab is, and the guys know what that is. So kind of slowing that process down as much as you can, and really talking defense and teaching the guys defense, because you can never assume anything, and it's better to be able to go over all that, and you know, it helps us as coaches as well. We're a new staff together, and make sure that we're all, when we do see it on Saturdays, that we're able to verbalize that and be on the same page and know exactly what we're getting. So I think that's one way we will help, and then, like Barry said, being able to talk through situational football as a unit.
Hey, guys, really super appreciate your time, and we all hope that we can see you on the field here pretty soon.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. All right, that's going to wrap us up. Thanks to Coach Odom and Coach Briles. Appreciate your time, and appreciate everybody else's time today, too.